And I think we are live. Hello, hi everybody. Leave me a message if you can see this, if you can hear this. I'm always nervous when I start on these streams. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but yeah. How's everyone doing? Who have we got in the chat? I've got an idea. I can just pull this up on my phone and see the chat from there. It's even better. Hey, Alexander. How's it going? Hope everything's going well. Well, let's not beat around the bush. I think we're going to need to check out these Tal'dorei subclasses. Just wait for everybody to filter in. Still about a minute early. So I'll give you a quick preview. Plan is we're going to go through some of the wikis and we're going to analyze the mechanics and see how they would synergize with other subclasses and just hear what you guys think of them. And then, hopefully, throughout the week, I can chop up some of the audio and make some nice, well-edited videos out of it. So I hope everybody's going on well. Don't think it's... Hey, Ziggy. Good to see you. So, without further ado, I just need to edit this and we can get started. What is it supposed to say? Blood Domain. Just struggling around my mic. Here we go. Hi, my name is Rich, and today we're going to be looking at the Blood Domain Cleric from the Tal'dorei Reborn campaign. Not the campaign, it's from the setting. I'm sure you guys already know that. Anyway, let's have a look at this Blood Domain then. Blood Domain is a divine domain cleric, uses a rare form of magic known as Hamocraft. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Scarlet from Mortal Kombat. I think that's probably the best... something Mancer. When they're using blood. Hemomancer? No, there's something else from Mortal Kombat. There's some other blood name substitute, but anyway, let's not get bogged down with the details. The Blood Domain Cleric, as known, the Claret Orders. Let's have a look at what this is. What are the Claret Orders? Oh, potential Critical Role spoilers if you're tuning in. I've no idea, but won't go too far down. Blood Hunters, Blood Clerics. So it is connected to the Blood Hunters, and I'm assuming it's the other class that Matt Mercer made for Mollymock in Season 2, Campaign 2. So that's quite interesting. The Blood Domain is based on the understanding of the life force in the mortal shell, the balance of life and death, and sacrifice. Almost any neutral or evil deity can claim some influence over the secret of blood magic. Good gods tend to shun it, except in extenuating circumstances. Hemomancer. Thanks for the backup, Alexander. Known deities that have the Blood Domain in their profile include Asmodeus, Grumsh, the Raven Queen, Torog, and Zehar. There's something interesting. I've actually got a video about the Raven Queen Warlock subclass that was done in the Unearthed Arcana, but it wasn't officially released. It's an interesting subclass, actually. I wouldn't say it's overly powerful, but it's a great espionage subclass if you're focused more on political campaigns instead of testing out the skills and abilities of people in combat, then I would definitely recommend you check out that video. So let's check out the history for the Blood Domain Cleric. Originates in Wildmount during the Marrow War. Oh, actually, I think we should skip this because I don't want to give too many spoilers for Critical Role, but I do think we can still cover the mechanics and abilities without spoiling too much of it. So starting off, Blood Clerics gain proficiency with martial weapons, but they don't get heavy armor, so that differentiates them from things like War Clerics. And I believe Life Cleric gets heavy armor as well. Let's have a look at the spells. Sleep is always useful. It's like a powerful utility spell. Do you know what I'm going to do? You give me 1 second. I'm going to open up D&D Beyond on a separate tab, and we're going to have a quick little look at some of these spells as we're going through them. So what was the first one? Sleep. The spell Sleep. Yep, you guys can see Sleep okay. Oh yes, this one. You have to roll like a load of d8s, and then you have to try and guess who has the weakest hit points and put them to sleep. It does tie in. If you're losing a lot of blood, then you would pass out, so you could add that theme-wise. Hey, my pause button. Good to see you. Howdy, howdy, indeed. We're just looking at the Blood Cleric's spells. At level 1, they get Sleep and False Life, which I'm a fan of Sleep, but it is very situational. If you're a rogue, or if you're a more scouting class, then it's really powerful. I love putting Sleep on my cowardly Arcane Trickster rogue. So the other one, I believe, was False Life. I can spell it correctly. I'm typing with one hand. Here we go. Don't worry, I'm not doing the whole dad typing with 2 fingers thing. That's a little bit too extreme for me. So, False Life. It's just cast on yourself, 1d4 plus 4 temporary hit points. You can upscale to gain additional temporary hit points. So this can be added on additionally to the life total. It doesn't count towards healing spells like Healing Word or Cure Wounds. But yeah, I think False Life, just on yourself. You can't cast it on other people. Okay. It kind of implies that you're going to be doing tanky things with this. So the Blood Domain still don't get heavy armor, but False Life is always helpful in a pinch. At 3rd level, they get Ray of Enfeeblement and Hold Person. So let's get Ray of Enfeeblement up. Ray of A. Here we go. So Ray of Enfeeblement. With Ray of Enfeeblement, lasts 1 minute. It's a con save, and it doesn't deal damage, but the target only deals half damage with weapon attacks that use strength until the spell ends. So you'd be using this on low constitution melee enemies. Can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's no upcast, but it has 60-foot range, so that's quite good. So it's more of a sort of thing you'd cast on an enemy from far away when the tank, like the barbarian or the rogue or the fighter, is up against them. It's definitely a great backline spell. And the next one was Hold Person. Now, Hold Person is evil. It does... A lot of these spells have debilitating powers so far. I think you could almost class this as like a debuffing cleric. You're not... Well, every cleric can be a frontline healer, but you're not prioritizing healing with these spells. You're debuffing the enemy or buffing your allies. Okay, 60-foot, 1 action. Second level spell, 1 minute. Wisdom saving throw or be paralyzed. And you can upcast it to affect additional people. Yeah, I'm liking this cool person. I think for a level 2 spell, it's quite good. I've used it in previous games, but it's only been on allies just to try and wind them up. I was playing a bit of a tricksterish cleric in the past. Oh. Level 5. I'll pull up these, but you get haste and slow. Fantastic spells. And this just confirms what I was thinking before. It is totally a buffing and debuffing subclass. So the Blood Domain, it's probably rivaling the Bard more than anything else. Has very good utility. Yeah, with haste, you can cast it on an ally in 30 feet. For 1 minute, the target speed is doubled against +2 bonus to AC, advantage on dex saving throws, and it gains an additional action on each of its turns. Well, if you're not casting it on the fighter, you're losing out. The additional action, you can only attack, one weapon attack only, dash, disengage, hide, or use an object action. So, of course, fighter, barbarian are the obvious choices. Paladin as well. There's nothing wrong with trying to get an extra attack on. When the spell ends, the target can't move or take actions until after the next turn, as a wave of lethargy sweeps over it. The fact it lasts for 1 minute, most fights are probably not going to be going on for more than 6-7 rounds, so looks quite good. And with haste, you also get slow. I always thought slow was a single target ability. I've never actually read up on it, to be honest with you. You alter time around up to 6 creatures of your choice within a 40-foot cube within range of 120 feet. Each target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be affected by the spell for the duration. Affected target speed is halved. It takes -2 AC and dex saving throws, and can't use reactions. On its turn, it can either use an action or a bonus action, not both. Regardless of creature's abilities or items, it can't make more than 1 melee or ranged attack during its turn. Yeah, I think this... I would say slow is more powerful than haste. Haste is great for buffing up your team, but if you cast slow on a creature that has legendary actions, it wouldn't affect the legendary because it just can't use reactions. It doesn't actually mention legendary because it's just either action or bonus action, not both. So maybe if there's any rules lawyers in the chat, you could clarify that for me. Does slow... Oh, we got someone in the chat. Ah, Yoda, how's it going, man? Slow is one hell of a spell. Problem is location, location, location. If the creature attempts to cast a spell with a casting time and action of 1, roll a d20. On an 11 or higher, the spell doesn't take effect until the creature's next turn. Oh wow, so it does have effect on spellcasters. If you guys are interested in looking up some other classes, I done a Scion class earlier today. I released the video, and Drunken Yoda in the chat is the guy that actually made the class. It's got like 4 subclasses, it's got a NPC and some extra spells. It's a really robust package, so if you get a chance, check it out. I do like that it's, so far, the Blood Domain Cleric, a lot of the spells have got different save types, so it's one's dex save, one's constitution save, one's wisdom save. That's a good mix, because I think with some subclasses, the spells they get, it's all dex, 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 or wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. So yeah, this is quite helpful. At level 7, you get Blight and Stone Skin. Let's have a look at this. I remember Stone Skin being quite a good spell, but let's have a look for the spell Blight. It's range of 30 foot, con save, and the target takes 8d8 necrotic damage. Yeah, you're just sapping the life out of them. If the target is a plant, creature, or a magical plant, it makes a saving throw with disadvantage, and the spell deals maximum damage to it. So it goes without saying, if you're in the Feywild, it's a great spell to pick up. If you target a non-magical plant that isn't a creature, such as a tree or shrub, it doesn't make a saving throw, it simply withers and dies. This could be helpful in a jungle setting, or I'm sure it's kind of situational, but yeah, Blight in the right setting can be quite powerful. For a basic rules spell, it's amazing. It's already available to the Death Domain and Grave Domain, which makes sense. It's always difficult to tell those two apart. Death and Grave have got quite similar... Well, they've got different ideas, but the naming convention's so similar, it's just hard. So I tell you what, I can see the chat's getting a bit clogged up. I'm going to try and... Give me 1 second, make you guys a little bit skinnier. That's better. So, Blight. Blight, I would say that's good. Yeah, necrotic damage. There's not many creatures that are resistant to necrotic damage outside of undead. And it has no effect on undead or constructs anyway, so just be careful what you're aiming at. But for a more, if you're fighting against more chaotic, natural sort of enemies, then yeah, this is a fantastic spell. So the next one was Stone Skin. Let's check this out. Stone Skin. Touch range, duration 1 hour. The spell turns the flesh of a willing creature you touch as hard as stone until the spell ends and the target has resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. And you need diamond dust worth 100 gold pieces, which the spell consumes. 100 gold is not a lot when you get level 4 spells, but still its consumable components is kind of annoying. And to be honest with you, for a level 4 spell, the abilities are a little bit lackluster. If it was resistance to like just bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, it would be a lot better, but if it's just non-magical things, yes, this damage type is common, especially at lower levels, but the higher you go up in the levels, the less useful this can be. I think Stone Skin's a little bit of a dud. That's a lot for 1 rage. I'm assuming you're talking about haste? Drinking Euro says they should have had a vampiric touch or similar spell in the tier list. Yeah, actually, that would be... Well, you could say Blight is a vampiric touch style spell. It's just a different theming. Just give me 1 second. I do see the level 9 spells here. Dominate person and hold monster. They're kind of different flavors of the same ice cream, if you know what I mean. Let's have a look at them. Dominate. Dominate person. A little bit of cough today, my apologies. Don't know where this came from. Now, let's check this out. Dominate person. 1 minute, 60 foot, wisdom save, and you can charm people. For a 5th level spell, you can charm a creature. Charmed creature can't attack the charmer or target the charmer with harmful abilities or magical effects. Charmer has advantage on any ability checks to interact socially with the creature. Yeah. I think this has uses in and out of combat, so it always gets extra brownie points for me in that regard. You're not just restricting yourself to one style of spell. I mean, like Barbarian Rage, even that you resist his magical bludgeoning, slashing, piercing damage. Yeah, it's just not an economic spell. Especially when you start stacking it up against other level 4 spells, it's just okay. So, well, one bad spell is not going to make the subclass bad in and of itself. I think as long as you get the majority of good spells, the cleric spell list is robust enough that you're still going to get some amazing options. So let's get back to Dominate Person. When the target is charmed, you have a telepathic link with it as long as you two of you are in the same plane of existence. You can use the link to issue commands to the creature when you're conscious, no action required, and it does its best to obey. Have you guys ever read the Preacher comic? This is the whole crux of the comic. There's a pastor that is, a reverend that is losing his faith in God, and then one day he gets the ability to talk in the voice of God, so everybody must obey his commands. And it's played as a very dark comedy. Yeah, if you guys are into graphic novels, you should check that out. Preacher. It's a bit old now, but it's fantastic. Anyway, enough rambling. You can specify a simple or general course of action, such as attack that creature, run over here, or fetch the object. You can use your action to take total precise and control of the target. Till the end of your next turn, the creature takes only actions you choose. So, succubus spell, or incubus, if you want to flip the genders around. Is there such a thing as a genderless incubus succubus? I'm not sure of the terminology there, but if someone knows in the chat, then let me know. You can... Oh yeah, it's just 1 minute, but you can upcast it for up to 10 minutes at level 6, 1 hour, and 8 hours. Yeah, for a bard, this is quite tricky. You can still already get it with the Trickery Domain and Order Domain of Clerics, so it's not very exclusive, but it's a nice one to have. So Dominate Person at level 5, and Hold Monster, which I assume is going to be more or less the same thing. Or is it just paralyzing? Let's find out. Hold Monster. Range 90 foot, duration 1 minute. A Wisdom save. Choose a creature that you can see within range. The target must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw or be paralyzed for the duration. So a creature that you can see. It's not just monsters, it's any creature, so I would assume this includes humanoids. The spell has no effect on undead, but it does affect constructs. Interesting. At the end of each of its turns, the target can make another Wisdom saving throw. So let's double check what paralyzed means. Paralyzed creature is incapacitated and can't move or speak. The creature automatically fails strength and dex saving throws. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage. Any attack that hits the creature is a critical hit if the attacker is within 5 feet of the... Any attack that hits the creature is a critical hit if the attacker is within 5 feet of the creature. Those who do not read the comic, Amazon made a TV series. Yeah, the TV series, I watched the first 2 seasons of Preacher, and I thought they did a good job at adapting some of the plot lines, but they do it out of order, but it's not in a bad way. I think for the pacing and rhythm of a TV show, it covers a lot of the main plot points. And yeah, I think the casting was really good as well. To anybody that can actually do an Irish accent and doesn't sound like they're faking it is getting bonus points in my book. I believe the actor is from England originally, so there you go. It's nothing worse than a fake Irish accent from an American. No offense, but you guys are not very good at it. I think it's hold person, but for creatures instead of just humanoids, i.e. hold person. Well, what's the definition of a creature? Anything with 4 legs? Is it a bipedal humanoid, or anything that's not humanoid? Not one of the playable races, maybe? I think you're going to have to clarify it with your DM depending on what you're fighting against. With hold monster. But, yeah. Overall, I'd say the Blood Cleric has some fantastic spells, with the exception of Stone Skin. It's knocked it out the park. It's thematically on point. It kind of makes you feel like you're controlling the blood of the enemy as it's coursing through their veins. Again, with constructs, you might have to take some artistic license with that, because they might have sand or oil or who knows what. I mean, if you cut a Warforged, does it bleed? Any Eberron experts, tell me in the comments. And we have the first spammer. Nice to see you, spammer. Always welcome in this. Oh no. You've just been reported. What a shame. I hate it when that happens. Anyway, let's get started on the abilities. So at level 1 with this cleric, you get Bloodletting Focus. Whenever Blood Clerics deal damage to creatures with blood... Let's start again. I'm going to record this for the video. Whenever Blood Clerics deal damage to creatures with blood at any spell of the first level or higher, including the weapon attacks of Spiritual Weapon, they deal extra necrotic damage by drawing blood from their wounds. How much extra necrotic damage? I'm assuming it'll tell you in... Whenever a Blood Cleric deals damage to a creature with blood with any spell first level or higher, they deal extra necrotic damage by drawing blood from the wounds. Am I missing something here? It doesn't say how much extra damage it's going to be dealing. Well, let's not get too bogged down with that. Let's check out the next part. Channel Divinity, Crimson Bond. As an action, Blood Clerics can focus on a sample of a creature's blood to learn the creature's approximate distance from the cleric and in which duration, and the creature's general state of health based on percentage of hit points. As long as the creature is within 10 miles, the cleric can maintain concentration on this bond for up to 1 hour. While the bond is maintained, the cleric can spend an action to force the target creature to make a Constitution saving throw. If they succeed, the bond ends. If the creature fails, the cleric can see through the target's eyes or hear through the target's ears instead of the cleric's own for a number of rounds equal to the cleric's wisdom modifier. Regardless of the outcome of the save, the cleric takes necrotic damage. I'm noticing a trend here. It's mentioning necrotic damage, but it doesn't say how much. Is this locked behind a paywall? Am I going to have to buy the book to see? Well, that would be unfortunate, because it's quite expensive, but let's not worry too much about that. Now with Channel Divinity, Blood Puppet. As an action, Blood Clerics can force a large or smaller creature, at 17th level, huge or smaller, to make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, they become charmed and physically controlled by the cleric. Unconscious and dead creatures automatically fails the save. Oh, that's a little bit spicy, to say the least. I do like the upgrade at level 17. It kind of gives the cleric a little bit more oomph. It's always nice to see things scale up, because the problem with some of the lower level abilities with some subclasses is that they become redundant when you hit level 10 or 15. You might not be using the level 2 or 3 abilities. So, Yeah, I can see this being used in a lot of different ways. The problem is that it's not a very lawful good kind of ability. I suppose the whole nature of a Blood Domain Cleric is a little bit sinister to begin with. It's a lot about coercion and manipulation. So I do believe this could be good at espionage or more political campaigns. But it still has a good spell list, it still has good abilities. I do like the Blood Puppet feels a little bit different to just a straight up Necromancer Wizard. You're not using creatures to attack or anything, but yeah, they're just charmed and physically controlled. So I'm assuming you can tell them to attack. Yeah, if you're fighting against two big creatures and you can make one of them attack the other, then that's going to make the whole encounter a cakewalk. So if the DM doesn't know about this, it could be quite the surprise. But it's one of those tricks that might only work one or two times. Once a wise DM gets used to it, they'll sometimes make encounters to circumnavigate this ability. But I don't know if that's good DMing or not. I think the whole idea of the DM is to allow your players to tell the story, so to kind of cut off one of their abilities out of spite, out of frustration, wouldn't really work. It'd be better to just actually sit down and talk with the player and see what they're planning to do. Now at level 6, Sanguine Recall. Level 6, Blood Clerics can, as an action once per long rest, recover a spell slot up to 5th level, with a combined level of half of the Cleric's class leveled up, taking damage based on the level of spell slots recovered. Okay. I like this because you can, in theory, combine it with the... where is it here? The False Life spell. So you could give yourself some temporary hit points with False Life and then Sanguine Recall, a powerful spell. So, yeah, this does have some utility. Oh, definitely. And at level 8, you get Divine Strike. Level 8, Blood Clerics can deal additional necrotic damage on weapon attacks. I'm assuming there's going to be a table in the book that tells you how much extra necrotic damage, and it will scale up over the course of levels. Kind of frustrating it's not on the wiki, but I'll have to do a report on that at another date. I'll edit something in the video, don't worry. So finally, at level 17, you get Vascular Corruption Aura. As an action, once per long rest, a Blood Cleric can emit an aura from 30 feet for 1 minute that can cause enemy creatures with blood to bleed, suffering necrotic damage each turn they enter or start their turn in the aura. Enemies that would regain hit points while within this aura only regain half of the intended number, rounded up. I think the regaining hit points thing is a fringe case, but it's a necessary clarification. But for a level 17 capstone ability, I do like this. I'm a big fan of aura and area of effects spells. That's why I was disappointed the bard doesn't have like some sort of chanting mechanic where you can buff up the rest of the party, but you can find a bless spell to do that if you're desperate. Yeah. Overall, what do I think of the class? It's good spell list. It's got some interesting manipulation. I don't know where it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be in the front line? Is it supposed to be behind the main tank? Because you do get proficiency with martial weapons, I think it's intended to be attacking up close and personal, but not directly one-to-one fighting. So for a secondary tank or a secondary melee fighter, sorry, melee character, this could be quite good. there's lots of charming abilities and controlling other people, so it does lead to some interesting narrative hooks as well, especially if you have a strictly lawful cleric or a paladin in the party, because if they're against the whole idea of necromancy and blood manipulation, then I'm sure there'll be a little bit of conflict between the characters. Always helps to spice it up a little bit. So, here's the thing. I think that this is a good subclass, but if you compare it with other cleric subclasses, they are some of the best. So it's kind of, it does have its role, it does have its niche, but it's not the most powerful. So if you're looking to optimize your way in through a game, then it might not be the best pick for you. But if you're looking for something with great narrative opportunities, then yeah, you get to control people's blood. I'm not quite familiar with not Naruto, what is it called again? Avatar. If anyone in the chat can tell me, is there a blood bender in Avatar at any point? It kind of makes sense because there's water and fire and all that, so why not blood? Just give me 1 second, I'm just going to check something in the back there. Perfect. Now, with the Blood Domain Cleric out of the way, I believe the next thing I wanted to look at is the Path of the Juggernaut. Path of the Juggernaut. So we're going to go here. Just going to update this. Can you even see? My shoulder too big? Yes. Yes, there is a blood one. I was going to say, like, blood, there is water in blood, I think. But, yeah, when you start breaking it down, that's quite a terrifying ability. Especially in a, would you call Avatar a children's cartoon? Avatar's on my watch list, but it's just a little bit intimidating because there's so many hours to watch. I think that trying to find enough spare time to plow through it is going to be the problem. I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but let's have a look at how long Avatar takes to watch. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Watch time. How many episodes are there? Storyline. Have I missed it? So 62 episodes. I'm assuming 23 minutes each. That's 20 hours? 21 hours? It's not too bad. Okay, do you guys think I should... I watched all of it with my kids. Yeah, I'd probably put it at PG-13. Don't know how it explores some of the themes, but I heard from a lot of people that Avatar was... it starts out as a more child-friendly cartoon, but then it starts exploring more mature themes. So... It's a kids' show back when our attention span and ability to handle serious topics was on a higher level. Well, I think when it comes to animation and shows like that, I'm more interested in less cerebral shows these days. I've got 20 minutes to kill. Smiling Friends is fantastic. It's just released on Adult Swim recently, and there's loads of clips going around YouTube, but I'm not going to show you any clips because... I know Taran over at Indestructo Boy, one of the channels similar to this, I think he got a slap on the wrist for showing some of the clips, so I'm sure you can use your own initiative and look up Smiling Friends. Oh no, you saw another article. Yeah, I was going to cover Timmy, Johnny, and Spike, like the player types, at a later date. But before that, let's cover the subclasses because that's why we're here. So, the next one is the Juggernaut. Here we go. The path of the Juggernaut is a primal path for barbarians who stand their ground and move their foes into positions of weakness. While raging, they make any battlefield their domain, shoving foes over mountainsides and destroying even the strongest structures with their attacks. I like it already. Every barbarian is like this though. They're always going to be pushing people over and being a little bit more butch, I think. I'm sure you get a feminine barbarian, but it would be the exception, not the rule. Avatar is why 4 Elements Monk was such a letdown for fans. Ah. Yeah, I can see that. It's with the 4 elements, I think it could work. They just need to rebalance the key points. If it cost less key to cast the spells, I think it would be quite a flexible class to have. Wait, I know it says Juggernaut, but the picture screams Drax. I can't see Drax. Maybe he's too still. I don't know. I try wiggling him up and down. Nope, it's completely still. I can't see it. Oh well, maybe next time. So let's. Oh, great! It's just going straight down to the abilities. So, at level 3, you get Thunderous Blows. Beginning at level 3, Rage instills a Juggernaut with the strength to batter around the foes. Once per turn while raging, when they damage a creature with a melee attack, you can force the target to make a strength saving throw. Your prof bonus plus your strength modifier. On a failed save, the Juggernaut pushes the target 5 feet away and can choose to immediately move 5 feet into the target's previous position. Oh, this is some interesting utility. Okay. The Juggernaut is one of my favourite X-Men villains. Do you know what I think? Wait, who is my favourite X-Men villain? I think Juggernaut, I would class him more of a Wolverine-specific villain, even though he's supposed to be the brother of Professor Xavier. But the whole idea of finding magic stones kind of didn't go in sync with mutant powers and abilities. I think one of my favourite X-Men arcs has got to be the Apocalypse arc. As someone that grew up watching the cartoon in the 90s, that's the one for me. I'm surprised Juggernaut's not been used with any other villains. Jaggy's a hero these days, in line with Venom. Was there not something like... it was like the Marvel version of Suicide Squad. I'm sure it had Deadpool, Juggernauts, and a couple of other... Maybe Bullseye from Daredevil. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was something like that about 10 years ago. It's been so long since I've read the comics, though. Seabev, what's your favourite X-Men arc? Well, I did like the idea that... I forget the name of the Frost one, Bobby something. But I remember hearing that... Oh, Thunderbolts. Bingo. That's exactly it. I remember hearing that Iceman, that's his name. Iceman was like this super, super powerful mutant that could change molecular structure, and it was one of the most powerful mutants in the world, but he was just too dumb to realize it, so he ended up making ice slides and like freezing people's legs when they're in a fight. So it's one of those really powerful abilities that is kind of nerfed and restricted by the user, which I thought was an interesting twist. But I think we're getting sidetracked here. Let's get back to the subclass. So Thunderous Blows, like pushing enemies around, is always good fun. I think if you combine this with a Warlock that's built into a specific Eldritch Blast build, it could be quite amazing, actually. Thunderous Blows, combine it with a Druid doing the Vicious Barb spell, or I forget the name of it. But let's just say Barbs. Fatal Attractions in House of M, says Drunken Yoda, talking about favourite X-Men arcs. House of M, oh sorry, Powers of X, House of X is fantastic. The whole Earth X saga, but that was like other worlds. I know this is probably going to be a really old reference, but Mojo World, if you go back and watch it now, it kind of predicted a lot of streaming entertainment, which is weird to say because it's this dystopian big bulbous creature from another planet that kidnaps people and puts them into arenas to fight for entertainment and broadcasts the whole thing live across the universe. So yeah, this is basically just streaming in 2022. Why did this not get much advertising? Almost completely went under my radar. Are you talking about the book? It just came out a couple of days ago, but I think outside of Critical Role, because it was on Darrington Press, which is their imprint, technically it's an independent release. It's not part of the official D&D canon. It's not, well, it's definitely not part of Forgotten Realms, but I thought I'd cover it because I love subclasses. I love the synergies between classes, and it's interesting to see what people have to write. Also, I thought I'd cover it because in the past, Critical Role books have been officially released by Wizards of the Coast, so it's appropriate. Oh, let's look at the level 3 ability. Stance of the Mountain / Spirit of the Mountain. In addition, upon choosing this path at the 3rd level, Juggernaut harnesses the Fury to anchor their feet to the earth, shrugging off the blows of those who wish to topple you, making it impossible to be knocked prone while raging unless a Juggernaut becomes unconscious. Oh. It's strange because these abilities are not very impactful on first glance, but I think it does add an interesting take to it. Here's the thing with Stance of the Mountain, how does that affect naval combat? If you're in the ocean and you're bobbing from side to side, could be useful. I'm trying to think of other times it could be useful. If you're tanking damage, which is what the Barbarian loves to do. Blocking hallways, yes. If you're in like a dungeon crawl, and you're in a narrow hallway and there's loads of goblins in front of you and there's a wizard behind you, if you can just Stance of the Mountain and stop anybody from getting past you, then yeah, that could be a real game changer. I'm glad to see a new martial subclass. I feel the casters were getting all of the unbalanced amount of love. Well, by their nature, the casters are super powerful. And I'm a martial player at heart. My first class was fighter. I was a battle master fighter, a half orc, and I ended up dipping into cleric just because there was no healers in the party. But yeah, I used to love playing fighter. I think if you took magic temporarily out of the equation, you could get some quite interesting stories and quite interesting builds. There's an interesting idea. I know I've said interesting about 4 times now, but bear with me. If you were to play a normal campaign up to, oh, I don't know, level 4 maybe, and then have an encounter where the magic of everything gets zapped away, I don't know if you want to tie that to a dice roll or just say magic doesn't work. That could really change the dynamic, or change the power dynamic as well. It might be a little bit frustrating for the wizard or any spellcasting classes, but There's the seed of a good idea there. I think I need to work on that in my spare time, but I'm sure a magic cancelling encounter is something I could brew up. Oh. So let's look at level 6. Demolishing Might. Beginning at level 6, Juggernaut can muster destructive force with their assault, dealing double damage to objects and structures. Also, melee attacks against creatures of the construct type deal an additional 1d8 weapon damage. Ziggy says, Half-Orc Barbarian was my first character. His name was Zulk. I was a Hulk ripoff. Yeah. One person's ripoff is another person's homage. I think, well, what happens if you're always green and always angry? I'm sure that's been explored in some of the Hulk comics with the Grey Hulk who retains Bruce's intelligence, so I'm sure there's a Savage Hulk as well. What do you guys think is the best race for a barbarian? Is it half-orc? Is it orc? Or is it Goliath? Or, if you want to go for the outside pick, what about Leonin from the Mythic Odysseys of Theros? It's like this giant cat-like creature. It's more lion than the Tabaxi Panther, so yeah, it might be a good idea. But yeah, look at that Demolishing Might. Dealing double damage to objects and structures. Melee attacks against creatures of the construct type. Yeah, that's very niche. You're not going to meet many constructs unless the DM realizes you have an ability tied to it and it feels a little bit lenient and wants to give you a couple of modrons to fight against. Yeah, dealing double damage to objects and structures. How can we use this? This is very similar to, I'm going to plug my own subclass here, but I made a rogue subclass called the Saboteur. And its main gimmick was that it could make bombs, and a long rest you could throw them that had different abilities like smoke bombs, flashbangs, poison damage, paralyzing, stunning sort of things at later levels. But one of the additional abilities, which I was trying to figure out and I couldn't really word it correctly, was something similar to Demolishing Might. I ended up going with giving advantage on attacks against inanimate objects and structures, and proficiency with improvised weapons. But yeah, I think this is a better idea because you're dealing extra damage. You're more destructive. I've always went Goliath personally because it was just makes sense. The big technical race should be the go-to big guy role. Minotaur is a good race for Barbarian. Yeah. Krasif isn't around at the moment, but friend of the channel, Krasif, he writes a lot of D&D errata. He had a Minotaur Paladin, and she was an absolute beast in every sense of the word. She was dealing damage like nobody's business, and turned out to be the leader of the party as well. Quite charismatic out of combat. She had these like massive braids as well. It's quite cool. I don't know if there's any artwork commissioned, but I'm sure if he's around, I'll ask him about it. Now, Overwhelming Cleave. Upon reaching level 10, as Juggernaut makes a weapon attack when raging, they can make another attack as a bonus action with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target, within the range of your weapon. It's just okay. I mean, using the Barbarian, you're going to be using a lot of bonus actions with, well, it's a bonus action to rage. I think there's other things you can do with the bonus action. Let's just check this out. Give me 1 second. Let's go back to D&D Beyond just so I can have a look at the Barbarian. I know I should be an expert at Barbarians, but it's one of my least played subclasses. Oh, classes. So let's go quickly go through the Barbarian and see what sort of bonus action abilities it has. Da, da, da. When you rage, it's a bonus action. Reckless attack isn't. No, not on Primal Path. That's the subclass. Ability scores, extra attack, no. Okay. I stand corrected. It looks like the Barbarian, apart from raging, doesn't use its bonus action for pretty much anything. I think if you build a Barbarian with 2 weapons, you could offhand attack with your bonus action, but the good thing about this for the Juggernaut, you could always just double up and... how would I put this? With a Barbarian, there's a good chance you're choosing feats that favour 2-handed weapons. So, if you're able to make more attacks with 2-handed weapons as a bonus action, on top of the 2 attacks you get from the 5th level ability, then yeah, this is better than I first thought. Overwhelming Cleave. It gets my seal of approval as a martial class. What's the name of the feat you're thinking of? We can look this up. We have the power. Let's have a quick scan of the feats and see what you might be talking about. Dragonmark, Actor Alert, no, no, no. Athlete, no. Charger, no. Oh, Crusher, is that... Yeah, so I think maybe if you add the Crusher ability, the Crusher feat, does that mean you can move them 10 feet if you combine it with the level 3 ability? Dual Wielder? Wield heavier weapons, draw... Okay. When you fight with 2 weapons, no, that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I can't see any feats that could be what you're talking about. Fade away, fighting initiate. It's always handy to learn a fighting style. Yeah, let's just say fighting initiate is a good choice for this. You'll apologise the diversion, but I think that's a good thing. Here we go, Great Weapon Master. Now, if you choose the Great Weapon Master feat to go with this, you've got more chance of scoring a crit, and it does give you the bonus action. So, yeah, this is kind of making it redundant. You're not getting the full benefit from it. Which is a shame, because Great Weapon Master is like an essential Barbarian feat. So, it kind of gives you half the ability, so you could use your ASI or your feats elsewhere. That's a strange choice, actually. How does that affect Path of the Juggernaut? Well, what other feats could you pick up? Let's keep going through the feat options and see if we can find anything else that'll be good for the Barbarian. Inspiring Leader, no, that's more of a bard thing. What's Mage Slayer? When it casts a spell, you can make a melee as a reaction. When you damage a creature and they're concentrating on it, yeah, that's okay, but we're looking for something with a bit more bite. Oh, those the piercing, slashing, bludgeoning things in Tasha's Cauldron. When you score... No, not Piercer. Oh. Okay. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? What do you think, chat? Could Polar Master be a good feat for the Juggernaut Barbarian? Not really, because it's using the same thing. So that also is made redundant. Savage Attacker now. I think that would be a perfect feat to take for the Juggernaut Barbarian. And Slasher reduce the... Yeah, we can reduce the speed of the target. So you can push them around. If you choose the Slasher feat, you can also reduce the speed of the target as well. And yeah, if you score a crit, which is fantastic anyway, you're dealing extra things on top of it, giving them disadvantage. So, overall, I would say feats to take for the Juggernaut Barbarian are Slasher, Savage Attacker, and not Great Weapon Master. Avoid that. I mean, Mobile is always a good one. Actually, Charger. Yeah, if you're charging in, if you move at least 10 feet in a straight line immediately before you take the this bonus action, you either gain a +5 bonus to the attack's damage roll, or push the target up to 10 feet away. So, if you combine that with other things in Path of the Juggernaut, you could literally send them like 15, 20 feet in the air. Hold on a minute. It says 10 feet away from you. And what I'm thinking is that if it's 10 feet away from you, can you push them up in the air? Because if you fall more than 10 feet, you're technically taking fall damage as well. I don't know if the DM would allow this, but technically rules as written, you could push them up in the air. This smells like something that needs Dungeoneers pack. Yeah. Get the #1 D&D detective on the case. I think we found the feat to go with the Juggernaut. Juggernaut and Charger. And then if you combine that with the Stance of the Mountain as well, you can knock them down, but they're not going to touch you. This is turning into a fun little subclass. I kind of like this. When it comes to barbarians, I've always kind of... they're just okay. I prefer fighter, but I'm really got a thirst to try and play the Juggernaut Barbarian. Now, let's look at the next and final ability. Oh, no, we've not done... Yeah, the next one. So, at level 14, you get Unstoppable. Starting at 14th level, Juggernaut can choose to become unstoppable when you enter a rage. The speed cannot be reduced. They are immune to being frightened, paralyzed, and stunned. If the Juggernaut is frightened, paralyzed, or stunned, they can take your bonus action. They can still take their bonus action to enter their rage and suspend the effects of the duration of the rage. When the rage ends, you suffer 1 level of exhaustion. I think the idea of charging in and the speed cannot be reduced. Do you know what I'm thinking, guys? And this sounds a little bit crazy, but what would happen if you slap this on a tabaxi? And I'll show you why. Let's look up tabaxi. I'm kind of getting monk vibes. Like combining a dual class barbarian monk with Juggernaut. Yeah, you could get some real technical stuff there. It requires someone that's got more expertise in the rules to go into this, like a treant monk, for example. But yeah, you could get some nasty things. So, with Tabaxi, your base walking speed is 30 feet and feline agility. When you move on your turn in combat, you can double your speed until the end of the turn. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you move 0 feet on one of your turns. Actually, you combine this with the Cat's Claws, which is tied to your strength modifier. You could get a cool unarmed Juggernaut to backseat charging through the ranks. Wow, yeah, this is... I've got so many ideas floating around my head already. I love this. This is a lot... I think the Juggernaut is a lot better than the Blood Romancer. Sangromancer? I don't know what you would call it. Just reminds me of the old Deathclock song, Blood Recuted. Turns out blood is an energy conductor. Fun fact for you. So, Path of the Juggernaut gets a thumbs up in my book. I highly recommend it. What do you guys think? What's the chat's consensus on the Juggernaut Barbarian? Give you a second to catch up with the thing while we're doing that. So, let's look at some memes while I'm thinking about it. I think next we're probably going to be looking at Runechild. Yeah, with sorcerers. Now, bear with me a moment. Before we go on to the sorcerer, the Runechild, I want to check the sorcerer rules. Just so I'm 100% on all of the other subclasses so we can compare against it. Okay, Aberrant Mind is the psychic alien one. Clockwork Soul is the modern, which has tanky healing, advantage, disadvantage, neutral sort of thing. Divine Soul is the healer. Draconic Bloodline is melee, I believe. You get like fire breath and resistance, yeah. And you gain wings, which goes without saying. Pretty much every sorcerer's origin has flying abilities, so if this one doesn't, I'll be disappointed. Shadow Magic is free magic. Panther Cat, Storm Sorcery is quite good, actually. Good at dealing damage, area of effect, and disruption. And Wild Magic is the classic. The D100 Wild Magic table. I think they were just talking about it on the Discord, actually. There was an encounter someone was in where they managed to roll the potted plant outcome like 3 times. So half the party was a potted plant, and then they just fireballed the enemy. And this was at like level 3 or 4. So, yeah, crazy. So, how does the Runechild hold up to the other subclasses? Let's find out. Yeah, a lot of people, Ziggy and Cbev both say thumbs up for the Juggernaut. And Nifp Buckdoon says Vunt Rent. So I'm just going to send you to the naughty step and give you a timeout. So let's check this Runechild out then. Are we on? Yep, we're on the Runechild. A Runechild is a sorcerer whose body collects and stores arcane energy in the form of natural runes, called essence runes, which are invisible beneath the skin when not in use. As rune children grow more powerful, more runes manifest on their body, and the first is usually on the forehead. That's unfortunate. When a Runechild charges or uses the power of these runes, they shed a bright light. This power can be passed down through a bloodline. So, yeah. Check out that artwork. What a smug draconic sorcerer. He's got a bit of personality about him. I like it. I like it. Shout out to Linda Lithern for doing that. So let's look at the powers and abilities of the Runechild. Essence runes. Rune children gain 1 essence rune for each level in this class. I'm assuming the first one's on the forehead. At the end of any turn, when the sorcerer has expended a number of sorcery points to use class features, an equal number of their essence runes become charged runes. As a bonus action, a Runechild can simply expend sorcery points to immediately charge their number of runes, or, as an action, a Runechild who has no sorcery points and no charged runes can charge one rune. So you've got a backup rune. This is almost like batteries. I've got the feeling there's going to be a lot of pencils and erasers being used if this class is getting used. So as a bonus action, you can simply expend sorcery points to immediately charge the number of runes. It doesn't sound very economic. Would you not just be casting a spell or using your abilities? Yeah, at the end of the turn, you can expend a number of sorcery points to use this class feature. So yeah, you can either get it for free at the end of the turn, or if you want to specifically charge the runes, you can do it as a bonus action. And it takes an action to charge one rune if you run out of spell slots. A Runechild with 5 or more charged runes emits bright light in a 5-foot radius and dim light for 5 more feet. Any charged runes becomes inert at the end of a long rest. This might be good on a human then? Cbev, yo, what if this was paired with a Rune Knight? The Rune Knight is more giant based, but yeah, if with the Rune Knight you can like add runes to weapons or items, so yeah, thematically, yeah, this has great synergy. It works well. I think the difference is the way it's written. The Rune Knight is a fighter that's learned the way of giants, learning how to carve runes, but the Runechild has naturally got runes on their bodies. So you could do like a Norse sort of setting. This would work well. Oh, Taran, Indestructible Boy, look up that YouTube channel because he's been working on a Rune class. He's put so many hours into it, it's ridiculous. And this thing, it looks like, technically it's one class, but it looks like it's got enough content for you to be reading for months on end. There's so many options. It's like a class, and it has subclasses, and it has like these different runes, which is essentially a new spell list of abilities you can like carve in. So yeah, if you've got a spare 80 hours, then check out his live streams. If you don't, I'm sure there might be a summary on his YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description when I make a video out of this. But Indestructible Boy, check it out. So let's check this out. So, a Runechild with 5 or more charged runes emits a bright light. We've done this. Any charged runes become inert at the end of a long rest. Yeah, YouTube is not good at alerting you to when streams are going on. I think he just starts his streams. I don't know if he like schedules them ahead. I found that if I schedule my stream too far ahead, then people forget about it. So if they put a reminder, that could be good. Another spammer. Sorry about this, guys. Just gonna sort that out. So, the essence runes is essentially governing you how to charge these runes up. Glyph of Aegis. At first level, when a Runechild is damaged by an attack, spell, or hazard, they can use a reaction to expend any number of charged runes to reduce the damage by 1d6 per charged rune. At 6th level, a Runechild can use an action to transfer a Glyph of Aegis, which lasts an hour or until used, to a creature by touch. Excuse me. Yeah, this seems like a good support ability. It's it's not healing per se, but it's preventing damage or reducing damage. So I think as like a backline or like midline buffer, that could work well. Hey, Dungeoneers Pax here. We were just speaking about you earlier. We've already covered the... Oh no, I've just realized. Still got Path of the Juggernaut written up here. Let me just change this. We're on to the Runechild Sorcerer. Oh, I have no idea how I'm going to fix this in post, but... Oh, let's just keep going. Who cares? I'm sure you guys will know what it is by now. So what's the chat? Everybody's interested. Follow Josh, Dungeoneers Pack. He does a lot of cool streams every Sunday. He has a stream where he has guests on. And yeah, it's really regular as well. It's like clockwork. So we're looking at Glyph of Aegis. Is it Aegis or Aegis? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I don't want another Genasi, Gensai debacle. When I did the Genie subclass, it was like every single comment was, "Oh, you pronounced this thing wrong." At least I got some good comments out of it. Now let's get back to this level 6 Sigillic Augmentation. I think the names are a little bit obtuse deliberately to give it more of a mystical vibe, you know? So, Sigillic Augmentation. At 6th level, the Runechild can use a bonus action and expend a charged rune to gain advantage on either Strength, Dexterity, or Constitution checks until the start of the next turn. At the start of each turn, they can continue this benefit for an additional turn by expending another charged rune. So instead of reducing damage, you can give someone advantage on Strength, Dex, or Cons. Yeah, this is getting even better at buffing up the fighter. You're going to be like the fighter, the barbarian's best friend if you pick this subclass. It has good synergies with the rest of the abilities so far. And I do like that you've got the option of charging runes as a bonus action, or you can just get them from using meta magic. So there's more than one avenue to charge them up. But I love this. It's like a super meter if you're into fighting games. So Sigillic Augmentation. At the start of each turn, they can continue this benefit for an additional turn by expending another charged rune. Does this synergize with preventing damage? Because you can touch a creature to reduce damage. You can actually transfer a Glyph of Aegis. So does the glyph trigger again, or is it just use once and then the Sigillic Augmentation? Might need some clarification on the rules there. Manifest Inscriptions. Also at 6th level, as an action, the Runechild can expend a charged rune to cause any magical marks, runes, wards, or glyphs within 15 feet to glow with a dim light and a 5-foot radius for 1 round. That's interesting. Can't think of any practical uses off the top of my head, but Manifest Inscriptions is good flavor. It's a little bit expensive, expending a charged rune. You might get away with using this as a free attack, but a free action. But again, it's just a technical thing. Manifest Inscriptions, how could you use this? If you're looking for runes, if you can't find them, then it could be useful. Or if you're trying to guide someone down a dark path and they don't have dark vision, that could be helpful. Possibly using Manifest Inscriptions as a distraction. If you want to try and let the rogue get a sneak attack in, if the DM's feeling generous, then you could technically do that. Runic Torrent. At 14th level, when casting a spell, the Runechild can expend a number of charged runes equal to that spell's level to ignore any resistance or immunity to the spell's damage type. Oh, come on now. Come on, that's broken. 14th level, you can ignore any resistance or immunity. My brain's racing to how many high damage spells you can get with the Sorcerer. Does it naturally get Fireball? I can't remember. Yeah. Runic Torrent, you've only taken 2 lines up, but that's like... I'm not saying it's game breaking, but it's definitely so powerful it's game influencing. Potent is the correct word for it. Yeah, I do like Runic Torrent. I'm noting a distinct lack of wings so far. There's no flying abilities for this sorcerer, so it's going out of sync with a lot of the other subclasses. Makes poison spells good. Yeah. Okay. Here's a question for you. When casting a spell, the Runechild can expand a number of charged runes equal to the spell's level to ignore any resistance or immunity. Does that work with cantrips? Would it be 0 or 1 rune? Because I think there's a really good poison cantrip that does like D12 damage. But the bad thing about it is it's poison, so everyone's resistant. So if you can sling this on a creature, I don't think it's naturally in the spell list for the Sorcerer. We can check it though. Let's go to the Sorcerer spell list and have a look at the... Have a look at the cantrips. Acid Splash is 1d6, I believe. Yeah, it's just 1d6. Blade Ward, Booming Blades. Booming Blade. Combine that with the ability that could lead for an interesting melee. Is this a melee sorcerer? Don't know if you'd class it a full melee, but it's got some ideas about it. Chill Touch, D8, Control Flames, Bonfire. No, Firebolt is D10. And fire damage is quite well resisted. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here when we're talking about cantrips. Infestation, what type of damage is that? That's poison damage. And it's just D6. But you do get to move creatures around. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Poison Spray, here we go. That's the spell I was looking for. So Poison Spray, range of 10 foot, but it does D12 damage for a cantrip. So if you combine that with this Sorcerer ability of Runic Torrent, you'd have to ask your DM's permission because it's not clear the way it's written, but yeah, you could make poison spells viable. At level 18, you get Arcane Exemplar Form. Once per long rest, the Runechild may use a bonus action and expend at least 6 charged runes to gain the following benefits for 3 rounds, plus 1 round for each additional charged rune over 6. Ah, here we go. Flying speed. Perfect. Flying speed of 40 feet. Resistance damage from spells. Just spells. Everything. At level 18, everything in the game. Spell save DC increased by 2. When you cast a spell at first level or higher, you regain hit points equal to the spell's level. This is very similar to the Draconic Sorcerer. Let's check that. Go to Sorcerers, Draconic Bloodline. What's the capstone ability there? Level 14 you get wings. You can spend 5 sorcery points. Oh no, it's not that. Is it a different one I'm thinking of? Hmm. It is quite similar to the Rune Giant in that regard, because buffing yourself up. Do you know what I'm thinking? With Runechild, it might make a good multi-class. If you can afford to put 2 or 3 levels in a fighter, for example, to gain some of the melee abilities, then yeah, you could make a quite a robust close combat sorcerer with this. Something to think about. So, when the Arcane Exemplar form ends, the Runechild cannot take actions or move until after their next turn. So, overall, what are we thinking about this? I like the Essence Runes idea, charging up runes and popping what is essentially glow-in-the-dark tattoos all over your body. I do like reducing damage, and at first level, this is really, really good. It does scale up well because it can be tied to your amount of Essence Runes, and you get 1 for each class. Sorry, 1 for each level in the class. Yeah. So it's powerful at early levels. It's a powerful party buffer at early levels. And again, 6th level 1 kind of compounds. That's the word I'm looking for. The 6th level ability compounds with level 1 ability. And I think a level 14 one is broken. So yeah, I'd say this is quite a powerful class. And it already has good, good thematical opportunities as well. How did you become a Runechild? Have you always had this power? Do you know your Runechild origins? Runechild Orphan is instant pick for a class. Sure, you can get so many different stories out of this. So, there you have it. That's the Runechild. What do you guys think in the comments? Sound off. Tell me, what do you think? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it as powerful as I think it is? Because I put this up in the S class, possibly. Yeah, this is... Now that we've had a look at it, comparing it to Wild Magic's a B because it's unstable, Storm Sorcery's A, Shadow Magic A, if you want to go for a stealthy class, definitely. Draconic Bloodlines B. Divine Soul, if you need a healer, go Cleric. But if you're stuck with Divine Soul, then it's good, but it's not amazing. It does its job quite well. I'll probably give it a low A. Clockwork Soul, S rank in my heart, but in my head it's only an A. Aberrant Mind, S rank, because it gets all the extra spells, which is something that this does not get. The Tasha's Cauldron, Aberrant Mind, Clockwork Soul, you get extra spells. A lot of people have been calling for other sorcerer subclasses to get retrofitted with additional spells, and I think that's a good idea, but it's not really anything connected to this. But yeah, overall I think it's quite a good subclass. Sev says, I'm thinking of making runes Veve and be a voodoo caster. Yeah, voodoo caster could work, but I do like the idea of reflavoring this to be like magical tattoos. You could almost justify it as a warlock of sorts. If you have a warlock sorcerer multi-class, then yeah, this works quite well. I think narrative-wise, it gives you so much freedom as well. You can literally have any type of character you want, and you're not restricted to being draconic or having certain ancestry. You could throw this on any combination of race or background, and it could work quite well. Reminds me of the Warlock in that regard as well. Well, I think we've been going for an hour and a half now. I think we're way past time. But hey guys, thanks for sticking around. Thanks Ziggy, thanks CBev. Who else have we got here? Drunken Yoda was in for a bit. Thanks for stopping by. Josh, Dungeon Yes Pack, check him out. And I think that was everyone. Oh, Alexander at the beginning. I don't know if you're still here, but Alexander, thanks for stopping by. Now, what is... Oh, one last thing I wanted to mention. If you go to Twitter, there's Lauren Walsh, who's the artist that is doing a lot of the artwork for the book, so you should definitely check out these sort of things. There's your Juggernaut Barbarian. It looks like a possible Noma Halfling, maybe? But that axe is gnarly. It reminds me a lot of Monster Hunter. If any Monster Hunter fans out there, I'm a big Giant Hammer main, so shout out to the Giant Hammer. Or the... What's the musical instrument in Monster Hunter? Can't remember. Anyway, this artwork is fantastic. There's a visual representation of the Blood Domain Cleric. Just looking a bit like a twink. Reminds me of Hades. Fantastic game. I recommend you pick it up if you get a chance. And here we go for the... Was it Blood Magic Wizard? Although it's pronounced Bold Magic there. Yeah, there are some other subclasses I want to cover next week, but if you're interested in some of the subclasses that have been covered in the past, I'll put a link down to the Cobalt Soul video that I've made, and there's a Open Sea Paladin video as well. They're a little bit old now. I think they're over a year old, but they should still have some interesting things to go through. Well, that's one I'm very interested in, is the Circle of Blighted Druid. I do like the Spore Druid, so this just seems like a natural companion to it. Here we go. Some smug Runechild Draconic Sorcerers. Look at that beefy boy. Love the detail on the clothing as well. It's very striking. Like the thigh slit, just so you can show off the rune on his thigh. And here we have the Emo Bard. College of Tragedy Bard. Is that a Goliath? I think it's a Goliath. With Balthazar Bleakskull as a name, it must be a Goliath of sorts. Finally, Oath of the Open Sea Paladin. I do like this Paladin. It's kind of less tanky and more agile. But if you're not in a nautical setting, I don't think it has a lot of value compared to other Paladin subclasses. And finally, the one on the thumbnail, which unfortunately we didn't cover, but the Moon Domain Cleric. So, interesting weapon. It looks like a whip, or I forget the name of the round weapons, but it's pretty cool. Blighted Druid abilities are nasty for crowd control. Yeah, sounds about right. If there's anyone that's interested in Warhammer or Warhammer 40k, the Blighted Druid sounds like a natural fit for Chaos Nurgle worshipper, something like that. I'm sure you combine it with a barbarian for Crone and or Corn, however you want to pronounce it. 2-inch wizard naturally. In Slaanesh, I hate to reinforce the Horny Bard stereotype, but Bard. Maybe that's a video I could do in the future. Which subclass best suits your Warhammer Chaos God. I think it's a little bit too niche, but it's got some cool ideas for builds. Well, I'm going to wrap this up now, but yeah, guys,